My name is Daniel Fiandero. I'm an emergency medicine specialist working here in Pietermaritzburg. I'd like to give you a bit of information about the new coronavirus. We call it the new coronavirus because there are many other types of coronavirus. If you in the past have had a flu, you've potentially had a strain of coronavirus. It's a very common infection. The new strain, or the novel coronavirus, or COVID-19, is a new strain that was first noted in 2019. The reason it is spreading so fast is because no one has had it previously. No one has developed immunity from it in the past. That is why it is spreading around the world. It is slightly more contagious than a normal flu, but the real impact is due to the fact that there hasn't been any previous exposure. What it does is it normally causes symptoms in a person within about earliest as 2 days and as late as about 12 days. So we generally say if you haven't been symptomatic within 14 days of a contact, you're unlikely to have caught it. The symptoms can be quite mild, and what we see is that in about 80% of cases, it's a mild flu, which could be anything from a bit of fever, a bit of a dry cough, a bit of a sore throat, that settles on its own. There is a higher risk group, which is those who are elderly and those with comorbidities, and this is where the mortality is being seen. There are people in that group who are dying. That does not mean children and young adults aren't catching coronavirus. There have just been almost zero to very few deaths in those who are younger. Currently, in this country, what we're trying to do is prevent an outbreak. So how do we do that? And that is by doing things like limiting interaction. We do that with things like social distancing and limiting the numbers of interactions that we have in a day. The President has put out a couple of advice statements that he's put out, and we're looking at things like limiting groupings of greater than 100. But what we need to do is try and limit all interactions best we can to prevent the spread. There's a couple of things that HCF as a church will be doing, which Dwayne will explain, to look at limiting that. But I'd like to give some information that we can all do to try and prevent this outbreak. How we do that is anyone who is unwell, so anyone who currently in this season has a bit of a cough or a fever, we're asking that person to self-isolate. Now every year people get coughs, colds and flus. But this particular season we're asking those people to rather stay at home. So if you have a cough or a fever, we'd rather have you stay at home. What happens is, of course, if you have coronavirus and you come into contact with a group of people, and once it's been confirmed, that entire group needs to then self-isolate for 14 days. That means everyone in that group should then stay at home for 14 days to see they develop symptoms. If they don't, they haven't caught it. That can be quite a risk to do for someone who's feeling unwell, to rather stay at home so that we don't have that scenario. What else we need to do is simple things like cough hygiene, which looks at either coughing into your elbow or into a hanky, but then particularly making sure that you're then washing your hands after that. What we don't want is to spread this infection. Something else we talk about is the social distancing, where we look at limiting interaction and making sure that we aren't doing any hugging or kissing or holding of hands. And we genuinely want to keep people with a spacing of about 1 to 2 meters. Just by doing that, you reduce the risk of catching a flu. Now this is something that's going to change over time, and we'll get to a point where it will be an outbreak and we'll have to do things a little more strict. But right now we really want to make sure that everyone tries to do everything they can to prevent this outbreak, which is why we're providing you with this information. And you might find that a lot of times if you're presenting in groups, people will be checking, are you symptomatic? And if you are, asking for you rather to stay at home. At the same time, if anything changes, we will give that information out to you. In the hospitals, we're doing the same thing. We're only looking at admitting those who are very sick, because currently there is no treatment or cure for coronavirus 19. What we do is provide support. The ones who need to come to hospital are those who cannot breathe, who are needing either oxygen or to be ventilated. Everyone else is being told to rather go home and self-isolate. So we want to make sure that everyone is well informed and doing their part to prevent the spread. In the meantime, the medical community is trying to develop vaccines and treatments so that when there is any spread, we can then look at trying to manage them the best way we can and prevent as many deaths as possible. Like I said, there will be more information provided by written form, but also you can always phone into the NICD and they will give you more information. Thank you.